Did you know you can get a hernia repaired without using any mesh? That's right. A meshless inguinal, how do you say that? Inguinal hernia repair without using any mesh. By the end of this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how this is done, where you can get this done, and how much it might cost you if you wanted to get this done. How do I know this? Because I got it done. I had a hernia, needed surgery, and I'm fully recovered, mesh free. And I'm gonna tell you exactly what I did. So here we go.
Warning! You are now taking a trip onto the Julio Frequency.
Welcome to the Julio Frequency podcast. I'm Julio, and this isn't just a podcast. It's a signal, a spiral of thoughts, the frequency of curiosity. If you're here, then you're already tuned in to something bigger than yourself. All right, full disclosure. I had an inguinal hernia. What the heck is that, right? What is that? Well, it's when a part of your stomach starts to spill into your literally. I don't know what those terms are, so forgive the vulgarness in the use of my words, okay? But I'm speaking now directly. I am speaking directly from experience. Please keep that in mind. The following story is my own. I'm going to share with you exactly what I went through. And as I stated when we started, I had a hernia and I got it repaired without using a mesh. Now, I know the idea of having anything inside my body, a foreign object, just absolutely horrifies me, which is what makes this story so special. Because it's very likely that I had a hernia for quite some time. An inguinal hernia for quite some time. Some time that it grew to quite the size to where it grew to the point where one day I just could not deal with the pain involved on how much pressure there was due to the size, and there's just so much involved. Not going to get to the specifics on how it felt. However, I will get into the specifics on how real it was and what I was going through. I had a hernia. So there were many times where the discomfort had me hunched over. There were times that I'm working where I had to pause for a moment and act like I needed to take a break, or times when I'm with my family when we're walking and I had to stop for a moment and sit down. All this happening inside my own little head, inside my own world, right? And I did the research. Prior to that, when I first noticed that something was wrong, I did the research back then, saw what was involved to repair an inguinal hernia. They take this mesh, looks like the thing that they keep the chickens inside, they keep the chicken coop, keep them contained. It looks something like that, like some chicken wire, right? So they take this chicken wire and they put it inside you. Now, mind you, it's not made of chicken wire, the mesh, right? It's not made of chicken wire. I just want to make that very, very clear. However, it's made of something else. So who's to say the material from the chicken wire is any better than the material that the mesh that they're using to put inside you? You know what I mean? But anyways, that's neither here nor there, because that mesh is not inside this body. And that's the point here. Back to the story. I'm losing myself a little bit over here. So the idea of a mesh, a foreign object inside my body just did not sit with me. I wasn't cool with that. I was not cool with that. I said, I'm just gonna have this thing forever, I suppose, you know? And when I first noticed it, it wasn't too bad. If you have had a hernia or have had this kind of hernia, then you understand it can go for a while before it starts becoming uncomfortable. But this isn't any advice on how long you should go. Please don't take it. This is just my story and how long specifically. I won't give you the specifics on how long. Everyone's going to be different. However, there was some time that passed from when I first noticed something was wrong to the point where I had no choice but to do something about it. Okay, so now let's get right down to it. Enough about me. I went through the process. I found this place. I asked AI, just to be honest, I asked AI, what should I do? One of those moments in life where I didn't feel like there was anyone to turn to when it came to this situation. I asked them, is there anything I can do to repair this hernia without having to use a mesh? And it responded right away. Mentioning something about this Desarda technique. Have you heard of the Desarda technique? A meshless hernia repair by a Dr. Tomas in Fort Myers. Specifically, verbatim, I don't know if that was word for it, but something around that effect was what AI had told me immediately. And, I was using, and just to be 100% transparent, what AI I was using Copilot. So here I am giving credit to Copilot, which is not paying me. Microsoft Copilot, is that what it is? They're not paying me to say this. I'm just being, like I said, 100% transparent on what I was using. Copilot told me about this place. And not only did they tell me about this place, they also gave me the link to the website. And, just for the record, for the listeners that are viewers, I do have the folder with me here. And it is called UFirstHealth No Mesh Hernia Surgical Center. And apparently there's only one of these places in the United States. I live in the United States, so I didn't confirm outside of the United States. But from what I understand, there's only one place in this nation, the nation that I'm in, where this can be done. And fortunately for me, I live only about 2.5 hours away from that location. When I clicked the link, saw the website, I immediately called, spoke to someone there. Don't recall who I spoke to. Was greeted with enthusiastic receptionist, to say the least, and kind of made it, comfortable for me to talk about. It's not something you want to talk about. I want to talk about the bulge that's going on inside my scrotum with some random person on the phone. You know what I mean? However, we weren't talking about my scrotum on the phone. We were talking about the hernia, what's involved, and basically how long the recovery was and how soon. Hold on a second. The cat feeder's going off. Okay. She gave me the details on how it went as far as the process. Okay. Let me start you from the beginning. That way, I'll walk you through my process so you can understand how it would probably go with you if you were in my situation. I had an inguinal hernia, just to remind you, a short recap. I needed to get it repaired as soon as possible due to the time that I've already had it. My first phone call, I was told that I can make an appointment whenever. I can make an appointment as soon as that same day, actually, as long as it was before 1 o'clock or so, I believe. As long as I can see the doctor before 1 or so. Or get there before 1, I recall. However, the first time I called, I didn't make the appointment. I was just told that the appointments were pretty flexible, and if I call early, I could probably get same day. So I wasn't sure about going in. Wasn't sure. So I went to work like the following day, and that following morning, my car got broken into by some vandals in front of my job, in front of cameras, in front of, that's a whole other story. But here I am in my car, busted open. They took all my tools. They took a lot of my stuff. A lot of things were stolen. I have a police report in that same folder, as a matter of fact. It's funny. And I was so distraught about it. Like, man, I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to park back where I was. And I had to get my window fixed. So I called UFirstHealth and spoke to whoever answered the phone. I said receptionist earlier. I'm not sure if they're the specific receptionist. So it could have been someone that was maybe a surgeon. Who knows? Whoever answered the phone, I told them, asked them if they would be willing to see me that same day. My window and car was busted and broken into early morning, about 6 a.m., before 6 a.m. By the time the cops got there, I had filled out a police report. And by the time all that was said and done, it was about 11 a.m. And that's when I called UFirstHealth. And I remember her telling me, I remember over the phone, she said, if I can get there by 1 o'clock, I'll be able to see the doctor and he can give me a consultation. So sure enough, I went from Miami, Florida to Fort Myers, and I sped over there and got there at like 1:05 maybe. Got there in time for the most part. Called, made the appointment, got there in person, and I saw the doctor. He sat down, I dropped my pants, and he examined me. Now, when he told me, we can get this done immediately. This was, I believe, either on a Monday or Tuesday, right? He specifically said, we can get this done tomorrow. However, when you get surgery, you want to have someone with you. I drove there alone. So I told him I was alone. He said, well, how about this Friday? It was Tuesday or so, I believe. How about this Friday? Let's get you back in here. Bring someone that can drive you. That way they can drive you back home. Obviously, you don't want to be driving after surgery, but we'll get to that part shortly. I made the appointment for the following Friday, and it was Tuesday. That's a couple days later. And before I left, I went and sat down with the finance person. Very nice person, but very serious. Okay. This person meant business. All right. And it cost about $6,000 to get this surgery. My insurance would not cover it. I was told I can get this covered if I send in my invoice to my insurance provider. That's a whole other thing. However, my insurance wouldn't cover this. So I had to come up with a certain amount of the $6,000. And I'm giving you an estimate. It could be somewhere around $6,000, but I know that what I had to pay was, the non-finance price, I believe, was about $5,900. And there was a slight charge added due to financing. So I'm going to just say it cost around $6,000, just to give you a full ballpark figure. This thing costs about $6,000. Okay. I was able to pay for half of it using a health card from my job that accumulates after time, something I didn't ever use. And it had about $3,000 on there for any health expenses. So swipe the card. We both the individual swiping my card and myself were just happy that the card went through, and I was good to go. I got my payment structured for my monthly payments, squared that away, no problem. And I had my appointment set for my surgery date for Friday, which I believe was October 3rd of this year, if I can recall. Now, the instructions were to have someone come with you. That way they can drive you to and from. Since I was somewhat local, there is an option for individuals that fly. This is the only center that does this type of meshless free hernia. People fly from different parts of the nation, I would imagine, and there are hotel options nearby that they give you, which presumably they're aware that you're going from point A to point B, and they highly recommend you utilize those services to ensure that you make it on time, on your surgery date, since it is in the morning, especially if you're coming far away. But in all case, for me, it was different. I was able to drive up 2 hour drive from where I live. So it was no problem. Couldn't eat a meal the night before from about 8 p.m., I believe. Around that time, I couldn't eat anything. Friday came, got there at 8 a.m. I checked in, and about 5 minutes later, I was already wearing scrubs and had I think it was an IV. I believe it was through IV. I had a one shot injected into my vein and the IV of a liquid anesthesia, I believe. Some type of concoction, I guess you can call it. Their type of anesthesia. And I don't remember on this whole in-house and out. I don't know the terminology right now. However, I will tell you my experience. I didn't feel anything. All I can remember was, again, it was 5 minutes after I checked in. I walked in, got the scrubs on, got strapped up, got plugged up, IV in my arm. Two individuals were asking me questions. Man, I forgot their names, but they were great individuals working there, helping you throughout the process. Very informative, very careful with you, very, informative on what they were telling you to do. Just professional. I just felt like I was being handled by professionals. It was a anesthesia person as well as the individual who helped me when I was there for the initial consultation. Kind of like the sidekick dude, right? So they were talking to me as the anesthesia was first injected, and they were asking me questions about, marijuana use, drug use, alcohol use, typical things I guess you would ask someone before going to surgery. And then they wheeled me into the surgery room where there were a bunch of other people wearing blue. Not sure how many, don't recall how many specific surgeons were in that room. Not too much of a full room, but I remember it was a very happy vibe, so to speak. Everyone was very welcoming, and I was, I was in a good mood. I was nervous. I'll tell you that. I was nervous about to get some surgery done, but they made me feel pretty comfortable. Let's just put it that way. And I just remember talking to someone on the right, someone that was, I guess I just met, as far as someone who was about to start slicing me open. And that's it. I must have fell asleep in the midst of speaking right then and there, because I then remembered just waking up to laughter, and I might have been talking. I don't remember when I woke up and then when I started talking. Put it that way. I just remember laughing and like, holy shit, And apparently you share things that you don't really know that you're sharing, either like right before you go under and like right after you come out. If you've had surgery, then you know what I'm talking about. This is the very first time I've ever had surgery, ever experienced it. So very, very new experience. However, it was amazing. There was nothing bad about this surgery. I didn't feel one piece of pain. I was done. I felt numb. I felt very, very woozy, like I was on drugs, prescription drugs. I felt very, very woozy. And they give you your instructions and your pain medication. Super important. They basically give you a kit to take home, and it has all your pills on there. It tells you specifically which pill to take and when to take it. These are a mixture of painkillers as well as like antibiotics and so forth, like an ibuprofen and another type of pain killing medication. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't like any of those blue pills. It wasn't like a Percocet or an Oxycodone thing. It was, matter of fact, let me see if I can read it off to you here. I'll tell you exactly what it was. It's cephalexin, docusate, sodium. Okay. And gabapentin. You know what those things are, right? I'll say it one more time. Cephalexin, docusate, and gabapentin. So there you have it. There was instructions. If you're seeing this, these are like the instructions on how and when to take the pills. If you forget one dose, it just tells you to just continue with your others. And so I got wheeled out of there, smiling, feeling good, not feeling a pain. I felt the area. I was afraid to touch it. But when I did, I felt it was just so numb. So numb. The main thing that they told me before I left was to make sure that I walk every hour, not to sit for too long, because part of this type of hernia repair requires you to exercise. You can't be sitting basically while it repairs. Now, let's get into the repair itself. That way you can know exactly what type of repair this is and how a meshless repair surgery is actually done. I'm going to break it down directly from the website themselves. And okay, so I'm going to be reading this from the actual website of this place, the Starter Center, the UFirstHealth Nomer's Hernia Surgical Center. Okay, so these are their words. I'm just reading it on behalf type of thing, so that way you can hear specifically what the definition is on what this surgery is. What this surgery is. The meshless hernia. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to explain it using their words, okay? Our no mesh hernia repair is a revolutionary treatment that avoids the complications of surgical mesh. And that's why I didn't want to do that for a long time. Anyways, this technique, known as the Desarta technique, uses muscle tissue and absorbable sutures to create a strong, natural replacement for inguinal hernias. For umbilical and ventral hernias, we use the patented Tomaz technique, which uses no mesh, non-absorbable sutured triple layered repair for the best results. Dr. Robert Tomaz has helped thousands of patients repairing inguinal, umbilical, and ventral hernias. That's the same dude that did my hernia. And apparently, he's like the only dude certified that's around to do the hernia. Some other dude named Desarda was the one that kind of created it. Hold on. Let me read you that part too. Let's see. Patients come from all over the United States to experience no mesh hernia repair. At UFirstHealth, also known as the Desarda Hernia Center of the United States, Dr. Robert Tomas is the most experienced surgeon performing the Desarda technique in the country. And it also says in bold, don't go anywhere else. We are the only certified center in the United States endorsed by Dr. Mahan Desarda for his no mesh inguinal hernia repair. Okay, now that's directly from the website. All right, so now recovery. After surgery, I had to literally walk every hour while I was awake. So keep that in mind. The pain changes as the days go by. You will go from different levels. Mind you, you just got ripped open from the inside, and the repair was done inside, and you were sutured on the outside. So there's a lot going on there, understand. However, for the most part, the medication given with whatever was in the kit as far as pain pills, they did what they had to do. There is more instructions as far as ice packs. You want to keep it on ice a lot. You want to always be icing the wounded area. Don't want to get it wet, after the first couple days. Little things. However, after 1 month, I was already able to go to the gym and do like a light workout. Now, here we are. Today is December 9th. All right. Today is December 9th, okay? And here we are 2 months and a few days later, and I'm back to normal. I'm back to being able to do whatever it is I used to do before. I'm back going to the gym. I'm back lifting heavy. Nothing crazy. How I got the first hernia, not really sure. However, I'm going to do what I can to avoid getting another one, so to speak. So, yeah, there's that. If you want to get your hernia fixed and you don't want any mesh inside your body, then the UFirst No Mesh Hernia Surgical Center is the place for you. I promise you. They did not pay me to say this. They don't even know that I'm doing this. I did not tell them this isn't a deal we have going on. You could tell them that I sent you, but there's no deal for me. I don't get nothing for this. I still have to make my payments. You can ask them to lower my payments because I have been making them. I have been making my payments, by the way. You can fix your life if you feel like this is holding you back. There's probably a few people out there that I'm talking to that might think they have a hernia. They might not know for sure. Well, it doesn't hurt to get checked and get it fixed. You will not regret getting it fixed. So there you go. Now, if you have a hernia, then I challenge you, my friend. I challenge you to pick up the phone and call and get a free consultation. If you want to get in touch with the UFirstHealth No Mesh Surgical Center, I'm going to leave all that information in the description and you can contact them directly. Tell them I sent you. Tell them that a happy, satisfied customer has sent you to change your life. And then tell him I said thank you. And then get back to me. Let me know how it went. I would love to hear your hernia story, because when we share, we expand the frequency together. Thanks for tuning in to the Julio Frequency podcast. Stay cosmic, stay curious, and keep spiraling forward. Next week, I have no clue what I'm going to talk about because I haven't thought of it yet. Until then, keep listening to your own frequency.